We're going to talk about the number one myth that affects small business owners when they're thinking about selling their business. But before we do that, I'm going to give you some statistics. In 2024, approximately 9,500 small businesses sold in the United States. Now, there are currently just under 35 million small businesses in the US, and of those 9,500 that sold, that equaled 20% of the businesses that went up for sale. Now, in the next 10 to 15 years, about 12 million small businesses are going to go on the market for sale, and 41% of the small businesses are owned by baby boomers. So if that historical data ends up being true, that 20 to 30% of businesses that go on the market actually sell, that means that of the 12 million businesses entering the market, 2.4 to 3.6 million businesses may successfully sell over the next 10 to 15 years. And it's a problem, and it's going to be a bigger problem if you're one of the baby boomers that finds yourself in that situation where everybody's trying to sell in or around the same time. So the biggest myth that affects small business owners when they think about selling their business is they tell themselves, and I'm saying they, not to lecture you, but just to share this with you, because this is what I hear, what other people hear. They will sell when they're ready. Okay, well, let's look at that. When you're ready, when will that be? Is that going to be at retirement age? When do you plan on retiring? Are you going to retire at 65? Are you going to retire at 75? Is that 6 months from now? Is that 5 years from now? And because you're saying to yourself, I'm going to sell when I'm ready, does that mean that you're not going to do any preparation between now and then? Are you going to kind of set that aside until you're ready? Because the problem with this myth is that you may get to a point where you're emotionally and mentally ready to retire and sell your business, but then there may be other factors that are outside of your control, such as the market. We had something like COVID that happened, and we had no idea that businesses were going to be closed down. We don't know what outside forces are, going to affect our businesses. So there's that. That's an extreme example, I know, but it happened, right? But there's also, how can you be sure? Let's say if you're going to be ready in 5 years, that's what you've told yourself. So in 5 years, I'm going to start to make a plan, and I'll just, I'll be ready. I'll put my business on the market. But it typically takes 9 months to 12 months to sell a good business. Now, remember, I just told you that of the businesses that sold in 2024, that was only 20% that were on the market. So you've got to get yourself into that strong bucket of businesses that's going to sell. There are lots of buyers out there looking for good businesses, but they're looking for good businesses. So you want to be sure that you don't leave it so long that maybe you get a little bit tired, or maybe I've seen this where the business owner is planning on retiring at a certain age, but their key employee, their key man, their key person is of a similar age to them. So as they start to approach retirement age, so does their key person. Well, guess what? That's a problem. It may be okay for you. You're thinking, well, I'm going to retire and then Joe's going to retire as well. But that devalues your business. Who's going to run the business for the buyer? So leaving something until you're ready, in that instance, is a problem. What you should be doing is, if it's going to be 5 years from now and you know that your key person is going to be retiring as well, you get that 5-year plan in place and you hire somebody and you get Joe, the key person, to train that person and get them ready so that your business maintains its value. And I think what I see a lot with people that say, well, I'll just sell it when I'm ready, is that there does come a point where you begin to start running out of steam. And I think that the thought of bringing on new people and training them, you've already been dealing with all of these headaches for so long. Hiring, managing, customers, budgets, taxes, everything, right? So I don't know if at the end of your career cycle that you're really going to have the energy to make sure that your team is strong. So the best time to sell a business or at least to start getting ready to sell, is when business is booming. I would, if you have a good strong 5 years in you, let's say you're 60, start making the plan then, because you could actually, I think I've talked about this in a previous video, you could actually get everything set up and then start to pull yourself away from the business a little bit, which you should be able to do, because an owner-dependent business is very, very undesirable for a buyer. So if you have a good 5 years where you say, I've still got lots of energy, I can make a plan, do that, bring in people, get them hired, pull yourself out of the day-to-day a little bit. But it's very important that you don't sell yourself on the story of being able to sell when you're ready. So that's the biggest myth. And something else that I would highly recommend that you do, and it's not talked about very often. I know I ran an engineering company for quite some time, and we never even considered getting a valuation done. And it just wasn't we were growing, we were busy, we were serving customers, we had teams that were traveling, and it's something that I think small business owners should be talking about more. I think some of the local Chamber of Commerce events should be geared around that. I'm starting to, I think, see it more and more, because I'm in this world of, helping people to sell businesses and helping people to buy businesses too. So I am starting to see more of terms like exit planning and things like that. People are becoming certified exit planners, which I think will be very helpful. But I definitely think that, making sure that you don't sell yourself on this idea that you'll just do it when you're ready. And maybe your spouse has been nagging you for a while. They want to spend some time with you, or you have this nagging suspicion that you should be doing something differently. And I would listen to that and certainly get yourself ready. So a few other key points. So that's the biggest myth. So just don't trust yourself when you say you'll sell when you're ready, because that's not true, okay? But some of the things that you can do to get ready: get evaluation now. I just talked about building a management team. Knowing your buyer options. One of the things I love to focus on is helping people to determine what their ideal buyer looks like. There are a ton of younger people, and when I say younger, I mean mature younger. They've had careers already, they've had corporate careers, and they are definitely looking for good businesses to buy. They are tired of the corporate grind and they would love to own their own business. I think they're referred to as corporate escapees, corporate refugees. I think I much prefer the term escapee. Not a big fan of corporate refugees, but you get the gist. And then there are MBAs also out there looking for businesses to buy, young college graduates who have finance degrees, and they would love to buy a couple of businesses actually and put them together in a small group. So there are lots of options. Understand the buyer, and the big thing. So with the myth being you won't necessarily sell when you're ready. The final point on that would be think beyond the sale. So I saw a video with Dave Ramsey recently, and he was being asked, people were calling into his show and they were asking him, should I sell the business? And his answer was very, very straightforward. He said, yes, if you have something else that you can do. He commented, and I've actually seen this personally with a family member, but he commented that he knows more, he said guys, but more guys that have retired from their businesses and they didn't know what they were going to do, and now all they do is talk about the good old days, or they're bored, they're golfing, and they're just not really that interested in it because they didn't make a plan of yes, if you have something else to do. So I know that that I saw this personally with a family member where they retired and they didn't know what they were going to do from there. They just were looking at each other. So have a plan. Think beyond the sale. Think about what you want to be doing. And you can also even consider selling to your employees. We'll do that for another video. That'll be for another day. But there are lots of great people out there looking for good businesses to buy. There's definitely no shortage of buyers, but you've got to get yourself ready. Don't tell yourself that you'll just sell whenever you feel like the time is right, because there's a lot more to it than that. So I hope this is helpful. And if you have a question, you can drop a comment below or you can send me a message.